Hey everybody, we are now well into what I informally call Unit 2. Unit 2 consists of looking at how three philosophers approach moral life, including attention to the metaphysical presuppositions that serve as a kind of foundation for any rules, principles, values, and methods they come up with for guiding us in how to decide whether a past, present, or future action, decision, or choice was it or is right or wrong, obligatory, permissible, or how to feel, think, or act in such a way that a good person would feel, think, or act. As such, the primary goal during Unit 2 is to help you see what it looks like to do moral theory in terms of normative ethics, which of course entails metaethical presuppositions and has practical applied implications. So if you will excuse me, I'm just going to scroll through my notes so that I make sure I stay on target with what I have to say. All right, so our next philosopher was a German by the name Immanuel Kant, and his theory is often referred to as Kantian ethics, or duty ethics. Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Ich habe bei mir selbst beigebracht, aber es ist nicht so gut jetzt. Noch. Anyway, just showing off and having a little fun there. I do speak a little German, but I'm losing it. I kind of live there off and on. My maiden name is Fiore, which is the Yiddish version of the German word Führer. So very interesting background there. In any case, back to the class and scrolling through my notes to make sure I stay on target. Before you begin, okay, so we are going to be learning about this philosopher, and like I just said, you know, he has these his theory has come to be known by different ways, by different names. And like I said, his ethics is referred to as Kantian ethics, duty ethics, or deontology. Before you begin to demonstrate basic knowledge, facts about Kant's theory, you're first going to analyze and clarify another one of your week 2 responses. That's going to be the one focusing on whether an assisting officer had a duty to intervene, or whether the assisting officer was morally obligated to check George Floyd's pulse, or whether it was morally permissible for him to ignore bystanders' pleas or commands or requests for him to check George Floyd's pulse, as Derek Chauvin was, pinning him down with the use of his knee on George Floyd's neck. I have created what I think is an amazing video where I pretend and role model how to use notes, examples, and intellectual virtue. Now, by that, I do not mean I'm going to scroll through all the notes. I don't mean I'm going to read through all the notes, but I have a fun little way of doing that where I use hand gestures and visuals to let you know when I'm being a student and when I'm being Dr. C. So I hope you will watch that video in its entirety. I assume you do when I'm grading your submission. So really pay attention to how I pretend and role model how to use notes, examples, intellectual virtue itself, what it looks like to manifest it, and the kind of mindset to have about mistakes that you may be making in virtue of completing this assignment before you submit it and capturing them. I also offer you 2 new strategies on how to maximize the video that I just talked about in working through your own argument, the one that I've already mentioned. Finally, very important, I add a new requirement in terms of labeling when it comes to the reformatted version of the argument that you are working on. I have just a couple more things. Let me scroll through this part now. As you begin to learn about Kant's theory, keep in mind your own argument, the one that you will have clarified. I don't know how I got to screen on screen. Let's get rid of that. So as you begin to learn about Kant's theory, right? What I want you to do is keep in mind your own argument about that assisting police officer and the morality of his not checking the pulse of George Floyd as pled for or as commanded by the bystanders, and what Kant might have to say about your approach to deciding whether something is right or wrong. So I'm not asking you to think about whether Kant would agree with your conclusion that the officer was morally obligated to check Floyd's pulse, nor am I asking, or anything like that, but whether you went about the moral decision making in the right way, or that you thought through the morality of the situation in the correct way. So after you do your argument analysis, you're going to be doing a really different kind of Blackboard Created Review. It works really differently from others that you're doing because I'm using something called discovery learning. Discovery learning in this context for this particular philosopher works best. It's going to help you arrive at some of Kant's metaphysical, meta-ethical, and presuppositions. And you're going to do it on your own, just following this Blackboard Created Review. Make sure that you read the instructions very carefully for this Blackboard Created Review and that you listen to every second of any video that I might post on how to proceed through the Blackboard Created Review. It's going to be very different. It should be fun. It should be stimulating. You get to give me some of your own opinions in this review. So be sure to read all written instructions and listen to every second of every video. Okay, and then finally, we end week 8 with a short Blackboard Created Review based on a very short reading from the ebook on the Kant lessons. So that's where you'll be learning the basic facts, getting the big picture, some familiarity with Kant's theory before we get more in depth. His theory is probably the most difficult to understand, so just keep that in mind. And of course, we'll be breaking down his theory and going deeper into it the following week. That's all I have. I hope you guys appreciated this different way of doing a video. I wanted to make it feel more like a real classroom where you would actually see, more of me and kind of have like a room setting. So that's all I have for you.